Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Brian Segnet. I'm a product marketing manager with Xerox based in Webster, New York. I'd like to welcome you today to this Ask the Expert session, Beyond Dots Per Inch, and the new Xerox Versant 80 press. Today, our moderator is going to be Jim Hamilton from InfoTrends, and Jim is a group director at InfoTrends with extensive printing knowledge and experience. And I also want to welcome two folks who will be joining Jim. Tim Shepard from AlphaSet Digital in the United Kingdom. And I'm going to inform everybody right now, we're running into some technical difficulties using our Google Hangout. And you're able to see Tim on the screen, but unfortunately, Tim is having a problem with the audio. It's cutting in and it's cutting out. We also have Betsy Allen from Cortland Press and Carbon Copy. But before we start it off and I turn it over to Jim, I want to encourage viewer participation today. So if you're watching live from a Google Hangout or Google+, please feel free to type in your questions. Or if you're listening live, you can tweet your questions to @XeroxProduction. We'll answer as many questions as we can at the end of the Hangout. Now, I'd like to, again, thank Tim and Betsy for joining us and turn it over to our moderator, Jim Hamilton, Group Director from InfoTrends. Jim?
Brian, thank you very much. Delighted to be here today with our guest, who I'll introduce in a moment. But I wanted to give you first a little bit of an overview of the session. So first off, I will talk about a recent survey that InfoTrends conducted in North America with print service providers, and I'll talk to 4 key findings that came out of that. Then I'll give a bit of an overview of the recently introduced Versant 80. As I mentioned before, we're very fortunate today to be joined by 2 end users who've had experience with that product and will share their feedback. And then next I'll talk to the point, really the focus of today's session, which was looking beyond dots per inch. I've written a white paper on that topic, and you'll have an opportunity actually to download it later on, but I'll talk about some of the things that come up there and how they relate to the Versant 80. So now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Tim Shepard of AlphaSet Digital from Surrey in the United Kingdom, and Betsy Allen of Cortland Press and Carbon Copies in Syracuse, New York. Now, I'm hoping, at this point, Tim, I'm not sure you're getting any audio from us, so if you're not, I think I will move then to Betsy and ask her to tell us a little bit about Cortland Press and Carbon Copy, your role there, the kind of customers they have, what you do. So, Betsy?
I own Cortland Press and Carbon Copies. We're a small offset and digital print shop on Main Street in Cortland. We focus on business-to-business printing. We have 6 employees, and we were started in 1957 by my grandfather.
Excellent. Interesting. All right.
Hey, Jim. Jim, it's Brian. I'll jump in for Tim. Hopefully his audio cuts in. You know, here's an interesting thing. Whenever Xerox brings a new press to market, we test it extensively in engineering, but what we like to do is we do something called an early customer acceptance test. And we selected Betsy in the United States because she had never used a Xerox product before. And so she'd always had competitive devices, and we wanted to put the Versant 80 in to understand her value and use of the machine. But then Tim, over at AlphaSet, Tim and AlphaSet is a long-term Xerox customer. They're a big digital print shop. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to put that Versant 80 into Tim's shop. He's a real heavy digital user, and we really wanted to get his views. And Tim, I'm wondering, are you on? Can you hear us? Can you talk a little bit about AlphaSet?
I can, yes, I'm back. Yes, as you say, we are quite a big user. We've had Xerox now for about 7 years, so back from 700s through to where we are now. We have tested the Versant 80 quite extensively. I think we pushed it beyond what it should do, and very, very happy with the machine, to be honest. We've put in
Brian,
Yeah, it looks like through technology we lost Tim. He's locked up. But Jim, if you can go ahead and kick it off,
Sure.
let's talk about some of those trends.
All right, let's do that. So the study that I referred to a moment ago is called Production Print Services in North America, and the results of that survey came from a web surveys we sent out to folks. Some of you in the audience may have even responded to that. We got responses from 652 print service providers. Some were print for pay, some were print for cost, or what you might call in-plant. And you'll see from the graphics that I'm going to show that one of the things we tried to find out was, what are growing print service providers doing? So we asked people, is your business declining? Is it growing? If so, at what %? And it's that I'd like to show you a couple of images right now. So the first one that I'll show really picks up on the concept of what amount PSPs allocate to their sales and marketing initiatives. In other words, we asked these folks, what % of your total employees fall into a group of job categories? And that's everything from production to database programming, administration, design, sales, marketing, and other functions. And what we found really interesting is that as you look over to the right-hand side of that graphic, those who grew 10% or more, they have a large component there on the sales and marketing side. And to me, that's an interesting development, that they actually are investing in those resources, and it's paying off for them. So if we go to the next of those trends, it's about value-added services and what impact that has. And so when we ask these users what % of their income comes from value-added services, particularly on the print for pay side, you'll see that those who were saying the biggest part of their revenue comes from value-added services, were really among that growth category. And I think that's an important piece too. And to me, it's an underlying lesson that comes out of digital print in general, and particularly production color digital print, that there are aspects related to just-in-time manufacturing, the ability to do personalized pieces, actually short runs and quick turnarounds as well, that provide some additional value to customers. The third stat that I wanted to talk to was around the ratio of digital devices. And what we found that the higher growth PSPs, when we asked about the number of devices and the types of devices, that those who had a greater amount of digital types of devices, so black and white and color and wide format as well, that those were the ones that were having the greatest level of success. And to me, again, it comes back to those points of what is it that production digital print can do for you beyond what a traditional technology can. Traditional technologies are great at reproducing many copies of the same type of item, but as you start to think about personalization, versioning, just-in-time manufacturing, those are all things that become really important because they leverage the automation capabilities of digital print. And then the last stat that I wanted to highlight here today was around variable data. Because again, as we looked at those highest growth print service providers, those who were doing the best were actually doing the most variable data. Now, it doesn't mean that they're doing 100% variable data all the time. Maybe, in these examples, it's somewhere in a 25 to 35% range of their total digital print volume is variable data. But again, I think that speaks to the point of really leveraging that technology when you have that capability. And so, the final point really I'd like to bring back to our guests here today would be to say, and Betsy, I know your audio is working here well, so as you look at those points, are there any of those that stand out to you related to sales and marketing, the value-added services, the variable data capability? What speaks to you from a perspective at Cortland?
I would say value-added. That's really important to our customers, knowing what they need, anticipating their needs, reaching out to them, finding out what they could need and not even know yet.
Yep, interesting. Tim, how about you? Is your audio there? Are you hearing us now? Anything you wanted to add in terms of this?
Yes. Yeah, we have Salesforce here, so they are out, and we have a complete finishing department. So we keep everything in house as much as possible to keep no problems going out. It's a case of doing as much as you can to keep the customer happy and being able to get it out quickly as possible. So, from our point of view, the more you can keep in, the more control you have.
Interesting, interesting. Okay. We've talked a little bit about these market trends. What I'd like to do next is to transition to a discussion around digital color printing, and specifically the Versant 80. Now, you may already be familiar with the Versant family from the 2100. That was introduced in 2014. But the newest addition to the Versant family is the Versant 80, which was introduced in March, and the first installs will be happening in May. So, as Brian mentioned, we're lucky to have two of the early test users of that product who really run it through its paces. Just for background, the Versant 80, it's an 80-page per minute device with a duty cycle of 460,000 pages per month. Now, Xerox anticipates really that the average user is going to drive that somewhere along the lines of more like 80,000 pages per month, although some will be higher and some may be lower. Now, from a technology perspective, and this gets back to the topic of this particular webinar, the Versant 80 uses Vexel-Ross terminology for the laser system that it uses. And that's got a spatial resolution of 2400 by 2400 dpi, dots per inch, so quite high. And that laser system, when you build it in combination with the ability that it has to handle processing at 10-bit, and I'll talk more about this later and the impact of the EFI Fiery front end with that, but those resolution and processing components together, Xerox refers to as Ultra HD resolution, and that has impact on the ability of these devices to reproduce gradients and blends and other kinds of things. And again, I'll talk about that because that's really important for the white paper. There are other quality enhancement features related to the Versant 80 that you may have heard about. So Xerox has an acronym called SICA, so that's Simplified Image Quality Adjustment, that is used on a number of the different products that really, again, have impact in terms of quality output in general. But enough about specs, I think, from right now, because we really got a couple of folks here who've been using the device for the past couple of months, and I'd like to ask them a couple of questions in regard to that. And so, again, Betsy, how about we start with you? What impact does digital color printing have on the services that you provide to your customers?
We're able to print quicker, shorter runs. The variable data is huge. We do a lot of that. Just the being able to control the quality.
Tim, how about you? What is the impact of digital color printing within your operation?
We are completely digital now. We don't have any in-house litho anymore. I think last year we put something like 2 to 3 million sheets through our machines. So, although it is digital, the volumes you can put through them is a lot bigger. And the 80, I think we've put 500,000 clicks through it in the last 6 months just to hammer it to see what it can do. And it has actually stood up to all the tests. So I was quite shocked, to be honest.
Excellent. Now, Betsy, you mentioned there's offset printing also at Cortland, right?
Yes, we have one offset press.
Yep. Okay. If we look at that over time, how has your business changed over the past few years with regard to, say, that digital color versus what you put on the offset press?
Actually, we don't do any full color offset. We do all of our full color digital. We do black and white offset.
All right. And so, Tim, for you, you've said that the business has been really 100% digital for a while. How did that evolution occur? So over time, you did have offset and then decided that the capabilities that you had through digital color were, what you wanted to pursue long term?
It's customer based, basically. They want things quicker. They don't want to hold as much stock. They want it capable of doing whatever you want to do. The variable data side of it is growing, which you can't do litho now. And it got to that stage where you think there's no point having it anymore. everything we need to do, we can do digitally.
Yeah. Now you mentioned, actually, I think you answered my next question, was what do your customers value about digital color printing? I mean, your points about quick turnaround variable data are key, but is there anything else that jumps out from you regarding what they're really pushing for?
It is. A lot of customers we have now are looking for no storage of their own. So they want they want to order 500 letterheads. They don't want to order like you would do with a litho, tens of thousands, stick them on the shelf and have the storage. They want to order it as and when they need it, no storage involved, a lot less hassle for them, delivered into them, so they don't worry anymore.
Yep, yep. And that's sort of just-in-time manufacturing capability. I can really see how that would be important. Betsy, are you hearing similar things from customers? What are they asking you about? Application needs or just digital color in general?
Pretty much the same as what Tim said. Not having to order so much that it becomes obsolete before they use it all. Not wanting to keep so much, not having room for storage, and being able to make changes whenever they want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, what about the quality and the substrate selection? What role does that play, Betsy, in your customers' buying decisions?
We're pretty much, with Versant, we were able to run all substrates. It was wonderful. With the profiling, we were able to run linens, pebble stock, polystocks, envelopes. It was a great diversity.
Interesting. I know we've gotten some questions about envelopes. Tell me about the importance of that as an application for your customer.
Short-run envelopes is what they're looking for, and full color. A lot of them are looking for full color, where it used to be just one or two colors, possibly a PMS, but now more and more companies are going with full color logos on their envelopes. Interesting.
Okay. Tim, how about you? Same question in regards to quality and substrate. What what are your customers? How does quality and substrate come into those buying decisions?
Quality comes into it, but from the Versant point of view, a lot of customers don't like the glossiness of digital. Versant and the 2100 has gone to a very much more flatter look. And I've actually had a couple of people actually question whether it was litho. So it is swinging that way in look, which customers do like. A lot of customers do still like the look of litho, but don't want to pay the litho prices. So for us, it's been great because we've actually countered what they want, to produce and win some more business back. Envelopes, again, it's something we haven't done before, but we can now do with the Versant, and letterheads, which I've never actually been able to produce on any digital machine we've done before. Versant is the first one that we've been able to do it on and be able to print back through any digital machine that we've tried, which is good because obviously it offers customers letterheads and things like that, which we haven't been able to do before.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to want to run that letterhead through something else. And the same thing really would be true for envelopes too. Do you end up getting requests for envelopes?
We do, yes. Not a great deal, but we do have people asking. But it's only since we've started saying we can do it. Now we're saying that, we're finding people starting to say, well, can you do this for us? Can you do that? So it has opened a few doors by having it here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now you ran the device through its paces for months, basically. What features of the Versant 80 stand out for you?
Quality. It's unbelievable. It is solids and things like that. I will take my hat off to it. It's done more than I thought it would for a small box. I don't think Xerox will like it, but I think it's better than the 1,000 for finish. And a couple of other people here do as well, and our customers do. You get a lot smoother print off of it. Tints seem to hold fairly well on it as well. but it's the look of a litho that I think is what wins it more. We do have customers, as I've said before, that like that look, and it does look better.
Excellent. All right. Betsy, for you then, what features the Versant 80 stood out in your experience with working with the device?
What I really liked the best was the fact that we were able to change the drums ourselves. We were able to do a lot of the maintenance ourselves, which really eliminated the downtime that we have with our current equipment.
Interesting. Okay. That's a very I guess utilitarian kind of piece, so that your operators really can keep it up and running. All right. Well, what I'd like to do, I'll come back to you with some additional questions, but I wanted to take a moment to talk about the white paper that I recently completed on this topic. So the white paper is called Advances in Imaging to Improve Quality, and it's actually available to download for people who are on the Google Hangout today. In fact, you should see on the right-hand side of your screen a link that you can use to download that piece. So you can see the entire one. But I would like to show you a couple of illustrations, and a lot of the white paper is trying to get into some very tricky definitions around dots and spots and pixels and bit depth, so that it can be clear why users like Tim, who's talking about tints and the blends and the reproduction of those kinds of aspects, why they might be improved on this particular device. So let me first show you what is like a non-pixelized and a pixelized raster image. And essentially, if you've seen if you've seen photographs where someone has taken a shot and then tried to like crop down a very small part of it and then blow it up, you get the result that's that flower on the top on the right-hand side of the screen. Left-hand side, you've got good-looking resolution. The image looks fine. When you blow a small crop version of an image up, what happens is you see that pixelized kind of view. And so that's an artifact that you see with raster types of images, and you would consider a scan a raster image. Now you also got vector images where you could create it with let's say a drawing product like Adobe Illustrator or something like that. And that's where actually let's go back to the previous one still. That's where you'll see shade stepping in blends sometimes. I mean, this is something that goes all the way back to when PostScript was introduced in the 1990s. The top image there shows some shade steps, and then you've got a much smoother blend where it really has, you see a nice gradation there, basically from a light gray to a black. Now let's go to that next slide. Now what happens in these cases is that if you have only a few number of, let's say, bits to apply to a blend, at the top level there, if you've got a 1-bit image is generally a black and white image, you can reproduce 2 levels, and those 2 levels are black and white. If you have 2 bits, you've got 4 levels that you can reproduce, and you can see basically in that second level down that, again, there's beginning to see sort of the kind of shade stepping. If that was all you had, that wouldn't be very much. 3 bits gets you 8 levels reproduced, 4 bits gets you 16, and so on, all the way up to 8-bit, which is what a lot of people see typically for their devices. 8-bit devices can reproduce 256 gray levels. As you go up, the number of gray levels continues to increase. Keep an eye on that space there, basically related to the 10-bit component, because that's where we start talking about what's happening within the Versant 80 and with the front-end capability that it has with the EFI Fiery. Because essentially, the EFI Fiery can process at 10-bit capability, and the Versant can accept that, has a print controller capable of accepting that 10-bit data and then reproducing it at the very high resolution of the VxEl ROS, that 1200 by 12, I'm sorry, it's 2400 by 2400 DPI for the VxEl ROS in terms of output, but taking that data and really leveraging it. And where you see that, where you see the results of that is in fine blends. If you take 2 similar colors and try to stretch them out over a long distance, that's where there can be issues. And when you've got those extra pick points, to apply, you can get much better looking output. And as I understand it, the Versant combination with a fiery front end is the only system in the market that's capable of doing that 10-bit all the way from the image processing through the printer controller, and then obviously to your output. So that's an interesting development. The last slide that I want to show is another interesting one related to some technology that Xerox has developed and that EFI is leveraging with the fiery front end, and that relates to something that is called Grafont. And so this example that you see here is how edges can be enhanced using this technology. And this is sort of an enlarged illustration, but in essence, it's the end result is providing better looking output on line drawings or on text, with text also being another example of vector kind of artwork. So what I wanted to do now, we've talked a little bit about the the nuts and bolts, the dots and pits, spots and pixels related to how image quality can be improved. But I'd like to get a perspective from Tim and Betsy specifically on image quality. Now, Tim, you've talked a little bit about it already. Maybe you could expand a little bit on the point as far as what you're seeing in print, where you see some of the improvements are. Certainly the to be more offset-like in terms of the output is a big piece of it. What are your other thoughts on that, Tim? And then Betsy, I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, as I say, the biggest thing for us at the moment is the swing towards litho. The quality off the machines is getting better and better all the time. Going back to the 700s we had, the quality is chalk and cheese now. There is no comparisons. So from our point of view, we keep up with machinery as it changes, keep up with technology to keep the quality the best we can. And that's what customers want. They don't want to hear how you do it, they just want to see it done and get the job at the end of the day. So if you're producing a quality job, they don't question how you do it now. That's what it is. Thank you very much. So, as I say, the Versant quality, I can't fault it at all. I actually do believe personally that it is better than the 1000, which is quite a shock considering the difference in the machines. So yeah, I don't know. I'm over the moon with the machine. We've still got it on site, obviously, and it is very, very good for what it is.
Excellent. Now,
so, hey, Jim, I'll jump in. Tim, thank you for that great accolade on the Versant. Now, the Color Press 1000, and Tim, I believe you have a 1000 now, right?
Yes, we do.
He does. The 1000 has a lot of other features. We've just recently announced on the Color Press, it's now the Color Press 800i or 1000i, and we've added gold and silver, which is really terrific. So, like any kind of product, we have a mix and a blend. 10-bit technology is only available on the Versant line. So if you've got a Versant 2100 or a Versant 80, that's that 10-bit. And Jim, you talked about it. It's 4 times the amount of pixels, and you do see that on your print. But I'll turn it back to you, Jim.
All right. No, I find it's interesting when companies have a range of products, continue their ongoing development. There's always going to be differences as far as the monthly print volume that a product is designed for, the speeds that it's capable of, the range of stocks, weights, the ability to do, let's say, a 5th color. I mean, the silver and gold samples that I've seen have been very nice coming off the 800 and 1000, and of course the Versant products are 4-color only. So there's a little bit here and there that you might look for from a range of devices. Betsy, how about that quality question for you? Again, we've talked a little bit about it, but what are your thoughts in terms of the image quality on the Versant 80?
What I noticed is that we were able to get great quality right from the get-go. The first printout, the quality was perfect. Prior to the Versant, it would take a lot of manipulating, a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted paper. But with the Versant, the quality was great. PMS color matches, and as Tim said, I mean, the customer doesn't care how you get it done. They just expect it to look good every time, and it does.
Excellent. On the question of substrates, I think are an interesting one too, because for me, a high quality substrate then needs to be complemented by high quality output. And so, do you have customers who are let's say printing on, I don't know, heavier stocks, coated stocks? You know, I think you mentioned linen before. What are the quality expectations when you're working on, let's say, more of a premium stock? Betsy, I'll be asking that. And Tim, I'll ask you that question in a moment.
Well, with linen or pebble finish, it's really hard to get on the machines prior to the Versant. It was really hard to get the toner to lay down and cover the whole sheet. But with the Versant, it did that every time. And polystocks, it does excellent with polystocks.
And what applications are your customers running with those polystocks then?
Menus. We have some where they needed to be waterproof for outdoor use, just different things like that.
Yep, interesting. So Tim, how about that substrate question for you? What about the more, you know, the higher quality, the coateds, the linens, are you running any work on polys?
We don't run any polys, no. We do run up to 350 gram. Coated, uncoated stocks. We do run some linens. We've just got a perfect bound book that we're doing now, which is all on linen, and it's handled it all very, very well. But you can almost, we found with this machine, you can come away from the sort of slightly more expensive papers and still get the same result on the slightly cheaper paper. So the customer still gets what they want, but they save some money.
Interesting. Actually, help me understand that one a little better. You're saying that even on a lower quality stock, you're still getting good looking output, and then maybe don't have to push to the higher stock.
I mean, we use Xerox paper. So you've got Xerox ColorTech and you've got Xerox Color Impressions. Obviously, slightly different ranges, slightly different prices, but you can get the same quality on the impression as you can get on the ColorTech now, which we couldn't do before. I mean, you could always see a slight difference in them. The customer wouldn't see it now, to be honest. So you can offer them, well, we've always done it on this, but we can save you a bit of money and put it on this now, and you'll get the same result.
Excellent. Okay. Brian, I know that there's possibly some questions coming in from the audience, and I don't know if there's anything that people out there would like to ask our speakers.
Yeah, we did. Jim, we've got a question. I'm going to remind everybody, if you're watching live, you can ask your questions or you can tweet it to @Xerox Production. We did get some questions. I've got a question which I'll probably start off on the first one in answering. Someone had asked out of the United Kingdom, what's the difference between the Versant 80 and then the Versant 80 with productivity package? And then could I touch on some of the differences between the 80 and the 2100? So with the Versant 80, we offer two models. The Versant 80, all of them run 80 pages a minute. On the Versant 80 with productivity package, what that does is that runs all stocks. And Tim talked about the 350 GSM that we can run on an 80. With the productivity package, it'll run even that heavyweight 350 at 80 pages a minute, so no slowdown. On the base machine, it would slow down at 220 GSM. But more importantly, on the productivity package, we have Xerox ACQS, which really makes color management push-button simple. There's an inline spectrophotometer, so what I can do is with just a click of a button, I can calibrate my press with my DFE. I can also profile stocks so I can get accurate, stable, and repeatable color. So that's the difference on the two presses on the Versant 80. And then on the Versant 2100, and interestingly enough, Tim has loved his Versant 80, but he's also put in an order for some Versant 2100s. He's loved the image quality so much, but he needs that 100-page-a-minute production that you're going to get on a Versant 2100, and your level of automation even increases. So on a Versant 80, we say simplify, automate, and do more. Simplify your jobs, automate what you're doing, and do more than what you currently have on the shop floor. But also with the Versant 2100, it even gets bigger. It's do more with more, and you've got what's called a full width array, and it adds an even higher level of automation. So that's the differences on the Versant line. All of them use Ultra HD or the 10-bit technology that we get with the Fiery front end. Okay, so that answers that question. I've got a question from Patrick in Chicago. And Patrick was really very interested in envelope printing. And he asked, were you able to do different sizes, or what was your experience with envelope printing? Betsy, let me ask you, could you do different size envelopes?
We could. We printed number 10s. We printed 9 by 12s, 10 by 13s. And we went as small as A6.
Interesting.
Great. Tim, any experience with envelope printing, different sizes?
Yeah, we've been printing C4s and C5s and DLs. We even managed to print solid blue on an envelope, obviously to the 5mm edges that you have to have, but it was a solid blue nevertheless. And you couldn't see the outline of the flap or anything. It printed as if it was a flat sheet.
Terrific. I did get another question on envelope printing, and I'll go ahead and take this. They asked, were you able to print your envelopes from a tray or a bypass? What we're doing is we're recommending that you print from the bypass. I do know, Tim, what did you do when you printed? Did you print from your bypass, or did you use
yeah, it's only the bypass.
Bypass. Betsy, did you use the tray, or did you use your bypass?
Just the bypass.
Bypass, yeah, that's what we recommend. And then the question was, could you print a standard business envelope? And I know the answer to that, and the answer is yes. Got another one that just came in. Do you have envelopes with flaps? Can you print on the flaps? That would depend. There's a lot of variation in an envelope. And I have had a customer, I was up at Xerox Canada, and we did talk about it, and they were able to print on at a show, we were able to print on the envelope with the actual flap open. And the reason being, it was a square type of an envelope. What they did is they were doing wedding invitations, and they were able to invert or flip that return address so they could print it on the flap. I get a lot of questions. People say, can I do window printing? Can I do different things like that? And again, it kind of all depends. It's based much upon that substrate. Got another question. What's the reasoning for the choice of the Versant name? And if you're a long-term Xerox customer like Tim, you know we've used things like iGen for the high end of the fleet. We've used DocuColors in the past. What we're doing now is Versant is the name of a family, and the Versant 2100 came out first. We now have the Versant 80. So that is a family name that we're going to be keeping for a while. And Versant, it's a play on the versatility. But if you look up kind of the dictionary definition of a Versant, it refers to a range of mountains, and that's what we're offering. Just like we do with Xerox, we really try to make sure that we've got a range of product, whether you be in a lower-end production where maybe 20 to 80,000 is going to fit for production, or if you need to really go up into the millions per month, and we can put you in something like an iGen. So that's the name behind the Versant. I'm going to look and see if we've got any more questions. Performance package, we've got another question on the performance package. What exactly is that performance package? That's an option that if you buy a Versant 80, you can upgrade to the performance package. It gives you the inline spectrophotometer. It gives you all stocks at rated speed. And it does something else I really like. It adds additional functionality to your Fiery where you get your color profiler suite. And again, all the Versant products, even if you go downscale and you get the bustled or the integrated controller, that also has Ultra HD and that 10-bit technology. Okay, I think that's it, what we've got for questions. Jim, Tim, Betsy, I really want to thank you all for joining. Tim, I really appreciate you being a long-term customer, and I'm really glad that our audio worked here on our Google Hangouts. Betsy, I really thank you for being a test customer and testing that Versant 80. And Jim, thanks for the work on that InfoTrends white paper, which really explains beyond dots per inch and the value of the Versant technology. Also, for all of you that have joined us and you're watching live, I want to thank you for joining us. And if you look on the right side of your screen, you'll actually be able to watch a video by Betsy Allen at Cortland Press and Carbon Copy and hear about her experience with the Versant 80. But also, probably just as important, download a copy of the InfoTrends white paper on understanding Ultra HD and beyond dots per inch. If you're watching this broadcast on a rebroadcast through YouTube, I would encourage you to go get those resources. If you go to xerox.com/Versant80, we've got a whole host of videos. You can watch Betsy's videos. You can also watch some really cool videos on the technology. There's also the ability to download the white paper. And we also have something that's called the Designer's Guide to Ultra HD. And if that's something that you want to give out to your customers, Tim, I'll make sure I get you a copy of that. That's something you could give out to your customers, and they could actually design files that will really take advantage of that Ultra HD on the Versant presses. So with that, it's about 45 minutes after the hour. And again, I'd really like to thank our guests, our moderator, and all of you for joining. Thanks so much.